Picture this, it's a Tuesday. Lukewarm coffee. An immigration officer hunkers down at their desk, staring at their 47th EB-1A petition of the week. And their brain, once a sophisticated instrument, craves something, anything new, anything to break the monotony of damn near identical cover letters and predictable arguments. That officer, after they finish this 47th petition, about to begin to decide your future in America. I'm Stefanakorli, I'm an immigration attorney, and I'm here to do for you what so many people have done for me throughout the years, and that is to provide important information that could maybe transform a life or two. Now here's something that might hit you like a ton of immigration paperwork. There's a common pattern in EB-1A cases that come to me after a petitioner has received an EB-1A denial. Their credentials? Good. Their evidence? Okay. Their persuasion? Almost non-existent. I've examined hundreds of EB-1A cases. I've seen more disasters than a FEMA director sees in a lifetime. And, spoiler incoming, the denials are not always about the credentials and the evidence. It's not a question of whether psychology influences immigration decisions. It does. The better question is, will you be one of the petitioners who understands this, or will you be one who wonders why their great credentials were not enough? Today, I want to unveil some persuasion principles, some practical tips. I suggest if you have an EB-1A case, a serious EB-1A case, you hire an attorney like me. However, ultimately, I understand that some worthy people will not be able to fit an attorney into their budget. And that's why I'm making this video. The first tip I have for you is to take advantage of storytelling opportunities. An EB-1A petition package is on one level a story. And just like people everywhere, an adjudicator's brain lights up for a good story. One that focuses on humans, not dry statistics. And one that portrays events from the sympathetic perspective of the petitioner. Stories hijack our brains and serve as great persuasive tools. We are hardwired to be captivated by other people's stories, other people's dramas, how they experienced or maybe drove events. We're not hardwired to be captivated by statistics. We're hardwired to understand and remember information when it's presented as part of a narrative. As a result of all of that, telling a story in your cover letter or in your response to a request for evidence can turn your brief into a page turner and make the adjudicator much more invested in you as the petitioner. Here's another tip. Eliminate conflicts. When it comes to storytelling, legal writing often resembles creative nonfiction, as both are bound by evidence and both try to move the reader emotionally. Both try to persuade rather than being objective. However, there's an important distinction. Unlike a book of creative nonfiction, where the entire book is one cohesive story, a petition package necessarily includes a lot of secondary materials. Specifically, it will contain reference letters, documentary evidence, forms. Here's the critical point. All of these components should present facts that are consistent with the story you're telling. They shouldn't be telling multiple divergent stories. Definitely shouldn't be telling conflicting stories. So an example of a divergent story, you have told how you rose to the top of your field. And then in a reference letter says that you are ascending in your field, and if you continue on the trajectory you're on now, then one day, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 years from now, you'll be near the top of your field. The bottom line is simple. Make sure everything is consistent. At some point, sometimes, less is more. The author of The Little Prince said, "Perfection is achieved not when there is nothing more to add, but when there is nothing left to take away." The Little Prince is about 100 pages. Let that sink in. Your cover letter or your response to a request for evidence does not need to be War and Peace in terms of length. Unless you're Tolstoy. Are you Tolstoy? No? It's okay. Me neither. There's no good reason for your cover letter or your response to a request for evidence to be 50 pages, 60 pages, 75 pages. And here's a strategic reason why brevity matters. At some point, the more you say in your petition, the more ammunition an adjudicator has to use against you. Consider this. It will be difficult to argue later on that you didn't mean something that you wrote in your cover letter, or that some fact contained in some supporting document that you submitted is not right. And adjudicators have been known to cherry pick from documents or information that you submit. Don't needlessly give them 25 large bushels of cherries. Use good writing principles. Legal writing does not need to be ambient. It does not need to be boring. In fact, there's such a thing as legal writing that is engaging, and it happens to be the influential and persuasive sort of legal writing. This leads to an important principle. Great writing advocacy is just great writing that happens to be about the law. From word choice to sentence structure to transitions to punctuation to formatting, you should seize every opportunity to mold dry prose into fresh, varied language. Put differently, you should write the type of legal prose that you yourself would want to read. Building on this foundation, here's a key insight. A lot of tools used across other forms of writing, from nonfiction to fiction, from investigative journalism to essays to straightforward newspaper-like writing, they're applicable to legal writing. Whether you are writing to make a cover letter for your initial submission or writing a response to a request for evidence, they are applicable here. Surprise, but don't shock. Building on the previous tip, one way to freshen up legal writing is to keep the reader engaged through lively language. Don't be afraid of it. Think of it this way. A little unexpected language is like a good plot twist in a movie. It captures attention, it maintains interest. To truly engage an adjudicator, you may want to make unusual writing choices that are out of the norm. However, when it comes to making these writing choices, you'll want to follow the Goldilocks rule. Prefer just the right amount of unexpectedness. Why? Too much becomes mind-numbing. Too little, boring. As with most things in life, a balance pays off best. Here's a practical example. You're an entrepreneur, founder of Acme Computer, writing a response to a request for evidence. You write as a subheading in a section of the response to establish that you're among the small percentage at the top of your field. Acme Computer signed a deal with Apple. This version makes no impression. Let's try again. Acme Computer crushed all competitors to win Apple's business. This version is a bit too much. Let's try again. Acme Computer ascended to Apple's inner circle of chosen partners. It's definitely the best of these three, but in a first draft, very few people would come up with ascended as the verb. But there's a prize in these word search games. You see, ascended transforms what maybe was just a typical business transaction, two companies coming to a deal for their mutual benefit, into something that sounds a bit more regal. As Gen Z would say, it's giving coronation. The difference between boring and brilliant is sometimes just one word. Avoid alienating anyone, even that guy. The goal of persuasive writing is not for it to draw attention to itself, meaning your writing should focus the adjudicator's attention on the arguments or the evidence or the story, not on distracting stylistic choices. One area where I frequently see this violated is in the use of gender-specific language. Remember, all effective writing takes into account the intended audience. The problem is you don't know exactly who your adjudicator is. And the reality is there are many Americans who will find the generic use of he or other gender-specific nouns to be offensive. I myself have typically used she as the generic pronoun for the last 15 years or so. Don't email me about that. Even that approach perhaps deserves an update today, with the rise of young American males who feel offended by that usage. While I might not share their political views, it's not the time to trigger someone's persecution complex. Beyond pronouns, you also want to avoid the use of gender-specific nouns like chairman or congressman or spokesman or salesman. You get the idea? It's important to be sensitive to just how polarized the United States is. Try not to offend anyone. Try not to alienate anyone, even that guy. Be competent. Groundbreaking, I know it's groundbreaking stuff. Be competent. Yes, it seems obvious, but based on what I see daily, it's not. You should know the law. You should understand the requirements. Don't just hope you understand it because it feels like it makes sense to you. Don't do that. Proper preparation, knowing the law, is critical to EB-1A success, and it's critical to being persuasive when you're talking about the law. Because when you incorrectly describe the rules, you lose credibility. Also, rules change. The law changes over time. So make sure that your understanding of the law is up to date. Address the problems. Deal head-on with the issues that you cannot ignore. Don't just wish away serious issues that could undermine your entire case. Just wishing issues away works as well as me wishing for hair regrowth. Now, a foundational part of the case is identifying the serious issues, and that does require legal skill and legal understanding. But assuming you do know the real issues, make sure you're not just wishing them away. Instead, deal with them, reframe them, argue why they're not issues at all. Gain credibility by doing that. State facts boldly. If you need something to be true for you to win your case, boldly state that it is true. If you need to prove a fact to win, that is, you can't win without it, state it boldly to the adjudicator. If you don't prove it, you'll lose anyway. Of course, you don't want to be too strong, you don't want to be over the top. But if you state something boldly, particularly at the beginning of, say, a cover letter or a response to the request for evidence, then by the time the end arrives, the adjudicator is more likely to find that you have proved it to be true. There you have it. I've given you several tips. You now know some of what lawyers know. The question is, will you use it like a professional? Your future is waiting on your answer. If this video made you realize that professional level EB-1A immigration advocacy involves more complexity or thinking or experience or judgment than you previously thought, my contact information is in the description. At my firm, we handle EB-1A cases for talented, for high-skilled professionals from start to finish, preparing excellent, strong, winning cases for them. Reach out to me and subscribe, because there will be more videos like this on the way.